going on? What's going on? I sound like I'm in a trash can. Good Lord. It's the Tamale Mafia podcast, the place where everything and nothing collide. I'm your host, Aaron DeLeon. And, man, this allergy season / chemtrail season is sucking the life out of me. I mean, I can't sleep at night. I can't sleep during the day. I can't be outside. I can't be inside. I can't go anywhere. Oh, my eyes are on fire, watering, itching, burning, bright red. My nostrils are all crowded. My nostril region, my nose, my nasal cavity, my sinuses, it's like the Texas border right now. It's just stuff pouring. That's a bad analogy. Okay. I'm not comparing Mexicans to snot. Sorry, Mexicans. Oh, man. Anyway. That's cool music. Thank you, Ben Sound, for the cool jam. So what's been going on? Let's see here. The like I said, the allergy season is insane, and I keep for the last couple of episodes. I think Monday and today, I have twice now referred to this allergy season as chemtrail season. Like, what's going on with these chemtrails? And there's a little story there that I'm going to tell you guys. But before I get into that, oh my gosh, dude. I'm thankful because I was talking to my buddy this morning and realized, I used to have like year-round allergies. And I think that was mostly related to the area that I lived in because there was cedar trees everywhere, a thick forest of cedar trees in the entire region, very well known for its cedar trees. So I think there was something in those trees that just kept me feeling like shit all the time. But now that I've moved away from there, it seems like I only have an allergy season once a year, and it's in the springtime when all this pollen is coating everything in a fine neon yellow dust. But I'm thankful that it's only once a year now that I have to deal with this stuff. But I apologize to you guys because I think my voice just sounds terrible. But thankfully, you only have to hear me. You don't have to actually see me, because if you saw me, you would probably be twice as annoyed. But I was thinking about that today, and I know I've talked about it before, about doing video feed and stuff. I'm still wanting to do that. I'm still working on that. The YouTube channel is there. It just has the audio of the episodes. I don't know if anybody's checked that out, but, I want to do a video feed. But I just haven't, I got to move some things around. I want it to be slightly visually appealing, and I have an idea in my head of how to make it do that. I just haven't done it yet. It requires me to just kind of like move some stuff here in the old loft studio space. Yeah. You guys ever listen to the Hodge twins? These dudes are on YouTube and Facebook. I think I've talked about them before, maybe. But I can't. Every time I say that, I just think of them. I think of that, But check out the Hodge twins, man. Those guys are hilarious. Okay, what am I drinking today? A little Revolver blood and honey. It's like a blood orange, peel, honey, and spices. There we go. There we go. Ah, tasty. All right. So here's the thing. I was talking about the allergy season chemtrails, and like there's this dude tonight at the store. I went to the store and he was bagging my old groceries there, and he said, "How are you, sir?" And he's like a young kid, you know, and so I looked at him. I said, "I'm good," and he kind of like stared at me for a second. Then I could tell there was like a weird look on his face, like he wanted to say something. So I just looked at him, and then he goes, "Looks like your allergy season's hitting you pretty hard." I was like, you fuck. Thank you for telling me that I look terrible. Thank you for pointing that out. And so I was like, yeah, man, it's pretty awful. It's been pretty brutal so far, especially today. And then we went on about our business, and then later, like they do this thing where they want to take the groceries out to the car for you, and I was like, nah, I got it, man. So I'm grabbing my little bag, because I didn't have that much stuff, you know. So I'm grabbing my bags. I'm like, I got this. And so I started walking, but when I'm grabbing my bags, he like walks up to me and he leans in like he's gonna tell me a secret. And I'm kind of weirded out because, like, I don't really like strangers. I don't even really like people that I know getting up in my space. You know, I don't like being touched and that kind of stuff. And this guy was definitely, I didn't know who he was. He just kind of comes in, like leans in real close, you know. And he's like, I couldn't tell what he said at first. I think, no, I don't know. I don't know what he said at first. I just kind of, he said something. It sounded to me like he was asking me for sex or something. I was like, wait a minute, what? And then he said something about Alka-Seltzer, but he couldn't say Alka-Seltzer. He was saying Alka-Sexer. And then I was like, oh, okay, he's trying to give me some recommendations here. He's like, you take the Alka-Sexer, Alka-Sexer, what's it? I don't know how to say it. And I was like, uh-huh. He's like, that stuff works really good. Or a Claritin. You know, he's like giving me the rundown of his medical diagnosis, his treatments for allergy chemtrail pollen. And I'm looking at him, and now this guy, I start noticing that he's like, disgusting, man. His eyes are all crusty. He's got like crusty rim of snot around his nostril, and then like a little trail dripping down toward his lip. I was like, oh yeah, the Alka-Sexer seems to work really good. All right, man, thanks for the suggestion. Let's get the fuck out of here. Oh man, get me away from that guy. I don't know, dude. I don't like people getting in my space. And then when I start noticing like if you got like a snot rocket or something hanging there, I'm trying hard not to look at it, you know, but it's there and it's hard not to look at. It's like this other guy, I've known for a while, but not that long. So I'm kind of learning new stuff about him. The other day he shows up with dyed eyebrows. Okay. And I don't know what to say about these eyebrows, but they look like it literally looks like some caterpillars have crawled onto his face and are just hanging out above his eyeballs. Like these big, dark, thick, painted on eyebrows, man, like a Groucho Marx style eyebrows that almost meet in the middle but don't. And I was like, I don't know where to look. You know, I'm looking at his face and he's talking to me, and I'm trying really hard to not call out the obvious. I don't want to embarrass him because obviously he's trying something here. And so I don't want to do that. He's not going for the joke. This is like something this is something in his life that he's working on. You know, he wants to be taken seriously, and I'm having a really hard time with it. I'm trying not to just call out the obvious, but I want to just accept that this, you know, hey, this is who he is. So I asked this other buddy of mine, I'm like, hey man, he's known this guy longer. So I'm like, does this dude do this eyebrow thing often? And he's like, yeah, yes and no. Like sometimes, occasionally he will, but he was like, this time he kind of went a little bit overboard, I guess. Oh man. So anyway, the story about why I keep referring to this pollen season with chemtrails is because I was having a bad allergy day recently, and I told a friend of mine, I was like, yeah, boy, the pollen is horrible today. And it was a text message, and then she wrote me back and said, not pollen, chemtrails. And then sent me a picture of the sky with vapor trails. And I was like, oh man. Really? The chemtrail thing? Like, I thought, I was like, I'm not sure if it was a joke or not. And look, man, if you believe weird stuff, I believe weird stuff. I'm open-minded, dude. I'll listen to your pitch. I'll listen to your evidence. I'll take it in. I mean, I'm not like a judgy McJudger person. I'm not like closed-minded where I think that certain things are ridiculous just at face value. Like, I'll listen to you and I want to know why you think the way you do. I want to know why you believe what you believe. So I'm not just right off the bat like, oh, conspiracy. The government is getting into my brain and controlling me, trying to keep me to stop me from speaking this truth. Let's try again. Conspiracy theories. I don't think that they are just completely implausible and ridiculous on the surface for what they are. You know, it's like I'm not just going to hear a theory and go, oh, that's bullcrap. I want to know. I want to listen. I've done some studying. I've done some research. There is I did a podcast last year. I did an episode last year talking about my dive into conspiracy theories. So I'm not opposed to the information. It's just there's certain things that I find really hard to buy. And when asking for evidence, what you get back is really equally as hard to buy as evidence of proof. And 9 times out of 10, when you ask somebody, hey, show me where this is proven or show me some evidence of this, they mostly will get angry and say things like, oh, if you don't want to believe the truth, then just fine. You know, you stay in your delusional state of mind or whatever. And that's not evidence or proof. You know, I don't appreciate that because I'm an intelligent individual. I respond. I'll respond with intelligence, you know? And so I want to hear an intellectual debate. And this is okay. I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to come back and then I'm going to go into this a little deeper because, there's a little baby onion here that I want to unpeel and get through the layers of before we move on too much further. And my timer here is telling me that I need to take a little break. So I'm going to do that now. Break now. And then when we come back in a minute, we're going to talk about the this chemtrail thing. All right. So I want to talk about this this little deep dive I took into the conspiracy theory world, because I'm not, again, I'm not opposed to the information. I just want to see it. I want to know what you got. I want to talk about it, and I want to have a civil debate. If I happen to have a difference of opinion, or if I look at your evidence and I come out with a different conclusion, then I want to be able to talk about it. But this person, and a lot of times with people that are bought in to these theories, they don't want to have a conversation. There's a like this almost a smugness about it, like, well, there's the truth and then there's delusion, and if you refuse to accept the truth, then you're a delusional person, or if you refuse to accept this as truth, then you're a puppet of the government, or you're being controlled by the government. And that kind of stuff is immediately going to shut me down in a conversation, because now it's like, you're not selling me on your ideas by telling me that I'm an idiot for not believing you. It's like, I want to believe you, but I want to know why to believe you. And the way I see it is that it's a lot like, to me, conspiracy theory is a lot like religion. There's a lot of questions that are unanswerable, that are really unanswerable, and at a certain point, you just have to. The religious person would say this is where you just have to have faith that that we're not meant to understand everything. We don't have all the answers, so we have faith, and our faith bridges those gaps of things that we don't understand or can't explain. And that's a lot the same with the conspiracy theory. Which can, I guess, in a way, it's its own religion at times. People are really dogmatic about it, but it's the same kind of thing. It's like, well, I don't have all the answers. I can't tell you exactly why I believe this, but I believe this. And to me, it's a choice. It's a matter of choice. You can choose to believe the evidence that you've seen. You can choose to believe that your religion is true, but at some point, you have to make a choice. And the convenient thing about choosing truth in that way is that you always have the right answer. Your truth is always the truest truth, And I don't really like the term "speaking my truth," because I think there are things that are absolutely true, and there are things that are fluid, and I don't think we can just blanket things that are disagreeable or that are unexplainable with my truth. It's just, this is what's true to me. I don't think it just can be explained away that easily, but there has to be, at some point, there has to be either a recognition like, okay, yeah, this is just something I choose to believe, or there has to be some kind of recognition that not everybody's going to have the same conclusion as you, and that doesn't mean they're idiots, I guess. And so that's kind of where, like, I don't mind if you believe weird stuff. I believe weird stuff. I think any kind of belief system has weird elements to it that somebody else might look at and go, how can you believe that? But if you become an asshole about it, where you are demeaning people or calling people names because they don't see what you see, that's where I get frustrated. That's where I'm like, hey, you need to back up. Just because I don't see the same conclusion, I didn't come to the same conclusion that you did, or I don't see the same thing that you're seeing, does not mean that I'm an idiot, or that I'm a puppet of some government system, or that I'm under mind control, or that I'm delusional. I would love to understand what you're saying, but it doesn't make sense. Okay. And at some point you chose to believe this. There's not an absolute, this is the truth and everything else is delusion. At some point you chose to believe this. Just like with religion, at some point you choose to believe, and then it becomes a matter of Well, I think I was saying it earlier, but the convenient thing about choosing belief is that you're always right. You're always the rightest person in the room. Because if you thought somebody else was right, then you would believe what they believe because you want to be the rightest person in the room. You want to have the truest truth. You would never say, in religion, you would never say well, what I believe and the way that I believe is not the best way to believe. It's probably not going to get me the end result that I want. That guy over there, his system sounds better and has more truth and will probably get me the results that I want. But I will not follow that path because I've chosen this other path that is less plausible and less likely to get me where I want to go. You would never say that because if you believe that somebody else had more truth and had a better plan, then you would go follow that plan and that would become your plan. And then you would believe, hey, I'm always the rightest, truest person in the room, you know? And that's not a matter of believing that you're the smartest person in the room or that you're the only one with truth. It's just that when you believe something, you believe it because you believe it to be true. And if you would never blatantly say, I believe a lie. That person over there believes the truth. What I believe is a lie, but it's what I believe. I mean, I've never heard anybody say that. So the a correlation to me between religion and conspiracy theory is that there's a lot of holes, there's a lot of unanswerable questions, and there's a lot of things that you just have to accept as truth without proof or evidence. Or maybe your proof or evidence is an experience that you had that's personal to you, but really hard to get anybody else to buy into, you know? So when you're talking about chemtrails, you know, it just annoys me because I'm like, okay, first of all, if you say, hey, I don't feel good today, and I walk outside and you're like, I'm sneezing and my head hurts and my eyes are watering, and then you walk outside and there's literal pollen coating everything, flying through the air like dirt, and you can see it, and you can see it coming off of the trees, not coming out of the back of an airplane, but you see it in and on the trees, and you know where it's coming from. And then you look up in the sky and you see a vapor trail in the sky way above your head, and you think, that's why I don't feel good. Not the pollen, the chemtrail above my head in the sky is why I don't feel good. Okay, let's say that's true, that there's an airplane flying above your head that's dumping chemicals on you. It's 35,000 feet in the air. If it's dumping chemicals out of the back of it or the bottom of it, wherever you think that chemicals come from, how are they going to fall straight down to you when you can still see them up in the air being dumped out of the back of the airplane? And then, but there's no wind. Gravity just pulls them to the earth. There's no wind. There's no jet stream that's going to carry these particles of chemical. If they're at 35,000 feet above my head here in Texas, how long is it going to take them to hit the ground? If they don't evaporate, by the time they land on the ground, they're probably going to be in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, you know. So the guy that's spraying something that's landing on you is where? California, but you're looking straight up in the sky and you're saying, that's the reason I don't feel good is because that guy's spraying above my house. But 35,000 feet. How long is it going to take to get to the ground? I mean, look at rain up in the clouds starts as ice. And then it starts to fall. And it's like a chunk of ice. And then it starts to fall. And as it falls, it warms up. And it starts to evaporate. And then eventually it hits the ground as a little tiny raindrop. So what are they dumping out of the back of airplanes that by the time it hits the ground from 35,000 feet, it's affecting you? I don't see the evidence or proof. I'm not buying it. I don't get it. Plus, you can go into and scientifically explain why aircraft will cut a trail through the air. It's easily explained. It has to do with humidity in the air. It has to do with air temperature. It has to do with aircraft speed. But no, they're dumping chemicals out of the back of the airplane 35,000 feet and it's hitting you. Now, what are they doing with these chemicals? Some of it is to poison people. Sometimes some people believe that the chemicals are to control the weather. So you have a pretty bright, clear day, and then they see a chemtrail in the air, and then next thing you know, the Earth is covered in cloud. The sky is covered in clouds. It gets all cloudy, you know. And then so that's the result or the cause of, or I mean, it was the result of the chemicals from the aircraft being dumped in the air. Was now they've created clouds. But why? Some people believe that the chemicals that are coming out of the back of the airplanes, when they hit you, they go into your body, and the government is going to use that for mind control. But if you're like, okay, mind control, that's a little far-fetched. Weather, maybe. Poisoning, yes. I mean, it's all far-fetched because how does it work? It doesn't, it's not, I haven't seen, I've been shown videos, I've been sent documentations, papers of people saying, this is what we're doing. But it's always like some guy you've never heard of from some place you've never heard of talking about, oh, my battery's dying. Hang on. All right, I got to get my batteries changed on my recording device. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So I will always and forever refer to pollen and allergy season as chemtrails. But that can of worms, man, once you open it up, it's like it just keeps going deeper, you know. There's the same people that believe that there's a secret reptilian civilization hiding amongst us. They look like humans, but they're reptiles on the inside, and you can tell. Sometimes they show themselves by the way they blink, that the eyelids of a human blink like a human, but then there's an inner eyelid that covers, that goes right to left or left to right. You know, that sometimes they accidentally mistime their blinks, and you get the inner eyelid shot. I've seen videos on YouTube of people who look, it's the eyelids. It all looks photoshopped to me, man. It all looks fake. So I don't know. 5G network mind control. That, you know, people believe that the moon, there's a secret alien base on the moon, and the reason why we haven't gone back to the moon is because they told us not to come back, in the exchange for not coming back, they gave us alien technology, and that's why we have like an advancement of cell phones and television stuff. But dude, I don't know, dude. Man, it's just, you know, I had a deep dive conversation today with my buddy about flat Earth, because he had never heard of chemtrails, and he had only hardly heard about flat Earth theory. So we started talking about that, and he was asking me questions, and I'm like, well, this isn't my theory, but I've studied it, so here's how they explain the answer to your question. And I don't know, dude. Ultimately, I you know, if you believe things that are out there like that are weird, that's fine. don't be a dick about it. But, believe what you want to believe, and let's have a conversation. And it's like I told this girl, let's review the evidence. Let's read up on it, and let's have a debate. And she was like, no, there's no debate. There's nothing to debate. It's truth or not truth. I have this truth. You are living in delusion. There's no debate. There's nothing to talk about. And I was just like, where do you go from there? Where do you go from there with somebody who won't even have a conversation with you and try to like not convince me, because I don't know that you should really put your effort into trying to convince people that you're right. But if somebody's asking for you to show them, and then they're like, nah. I don't know, dude. It's weird. It's weird stuff. I believe weird stuff. I don't necessarily think we went to the moon. I think that was all just so that we could win the space race with Russia, and we could say that we did it and beat them to it. And that's fine. That's fine if that's how it worked out. I mean, I'm saying I believe weird things that are probably weird. Christian beliefs are super weird. Jesus was born from a virgin. Jesus lived a perfect life. Did all kinds of miracles. Then died and was buried and resurrected. And people Christians will just say these things. Virgin birth. They put them in songs. They put this information in songs. Jesus bled out and then he rose from the grave. These are like song lyrics, and it's just part of regular Christian vocabulary, vernacular. But it's weird. You believe that this dude parted the Red Sea and people walked across on dry land. You believe that a guy got swallowed by a giant fish. You believe some dudes were thrown into a fiery furnace and that didn't burn them. I mean, that's not weird. Of course it's weird. They wouldn't be used. Those stories wouldn't be used across time if they weren't weird. The reason they stand out and they have some kind of legend behind them is because they're weird. Do they have practical applications? Of course. But does that mean that they happened? I don't know. But if you believe they do, then you believe something that's weird. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's just weird. And if you believe something weird, that's fine. But if you want to come to me and say, hey, let's talk about this. This is why I believe this. Then absolutely, let's have that conversation. But, just don't be a dick about it. That's all there is to it. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I don't know, man. I'm not opposed to conspiracy theories. I think there's some plausible stuff out there. I think that there are some things that are like, maybe the government is involved in some things that are sketchy. That's probably true. Maybe there are people that control the world that are behind the scenes pulling the strings. That may be true. I don't know, dude. I'm not saying that there's that if I hear the word conspiracy theory that I'm immediately going to shut you down. But there are certain things that I think if you believe this, if this is what you believe, then I have to question your IQ. Sorry, was that me being a dick? Hey, man, if you like this podcast, you can find it all over the place. Spotify, iTunes, anywhere. We're all over the place. You can head over to Facebook anytime you join the conversation. If you want to challenge me on what I'm saying about these theories here, then let's have a conversation. I'm down. You can do that, facebook.com/Tamale Mafia. Send me a message. If you want to come on the podcast and have this conversation and you want to prove me wrong, absolutely, let's do it. I am totally open to that. But furthermore, if you hate this podcast, if you've been listening, or maybe this is your first time and you're listening, you got through this and you're just like, what the fuck is this shit? This guy sucks. Hey, man, that's okay. Would you tell me why? I mean, if you hate this podcast, if this is the moment where you're like, I'll give this guy one more chance, and this is the chance, and you're listening to this and you're going, no, this still blows. Would you tell me why? Maybe I can fix it. I mean, I'm not a professional podcaster. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. I got a microphone, I got a mixing board, I got some music, and I just start going. If it sucks, I want to know so I can fix it. All right? If you tell me it sucks because I suck, I don't know that I can fix me, but I'm working on that too, okay? In fact, I'm going to talk about that in the next segment. That ended weird. I mean, sorry, Ben Sound. That was amazing. All right, so one of the things I want to talk about is I've been thinking about this lately, and this podcast, I want it to be entertaining all the time. I push for that. I want it to be entertaining. I want it to be good. I want it to be listen toable. I want it to be engaging, but there's also a purpose behind it, and the purpose is to dig deeper into my personal experience and share that with you, because there's a story that I want to tell of my life that I've told parts of, and I've told many times. We've talked about it, but I want you guys to get to know me better, because I want to give value to the things that I've been through. And by telling the story, I want to bring that value to you, and I want you to be able to experience some kind of hope or peace, or experience something, where you're like, okay, I'm not alone. I got it. I can do this. And ultimately, with all the other jokes aside and all the other stuff aside, it's hard for me to kind of weave in and out of the seriousness, because I don't want it to become heavy, and I don't want it to become boring, and I don't want it to become a thing where it's like, all this guy talks about is the heavy stuff, and it's, I want it to be investable, but I want to kind of weave it in as well. I don't want it to be just all about me and my heavy stories, but there's some of that there that I want to dig into, so I don't want to ignore it either. So I kind of have trouble like finding the balance and measuring it all out. So hopefully you guys are with me on this journey, and you're with me on the kind of the change of path and course, like the course changes and the shifting of like downshifting and then back to upshifting. And, I want to move. I don't know how to say what I'm thinking, but hopefully you guys are with me on this, and you keep hanging in there and you keep staying with me so I can get, so I can tell this story, so I can give purpose to things that I've been through. And I hope that you appreciate this part of the story. I hope that you like this part of the podcast. I hope that you don't turn it off when we get here. But because this is where I feel like the purpose is. This is where I feel like the meat is, and maybe it's confusing sometimes, and maybe, there's so much to unpack. There's so much that I've learned and studied, and there's so much that I've been through and done over the past 10 years of my life, that I hope that over time I can still keep unpacking that stuff, and then we can get through it together, and then you can stay with me till we get there, ultimately what I want to do, I don't really want to be a security officer for the rest of my life dealing with traffic. There's things that I really want to do, and what I really want to do is be able to hope maybe use this platform. I don't know if it's this or not, but I'd love to be able to tell my story in a way that brings hope to people. Like ultimately, if I can leave people with the feeling or the idea that they matter, and that they can have hope for their future, then those two things are like tops to me. I thrive in that environment. I come alive when I have the opportunity to do that. And if you've ever been around me or seen me in those environments, I absolutely come alive. I'm like a new person, because I want to give people hope for their future, and I want to let people know that they matter. Those are the two biggest things to me. And if I can do that with this podcast, and if I can do that with my life, then that would be the ultimate dream. And I recently had an opportunity to taste a little piece of that. I went to there's this really intensive self-help group that will build you up, but in the process of building you up, they break down the barriers, and they help you find the blind spots, and they give you the tools that you need to break through the things that are holding you back, that you aren't even aware of, that are holding you back. It's like a really intensive program, and I had the opportunity to go just kind of check it out. And so I went and experienced part of this event. It's kind of like it's a long-term thing, but I went to just a little part of it just to check it out, and experience it. And they asked people that were guests there, hey, if you're a guest here, and you've got a story to tell, then we want to hear your story, and we want to know what you think you can get out of this, and we will tell you then, you give us your goals, and we'll tell you if you can meet those goals here. And nobody was standing up. Everybody was kind of just sitting there. So I was like, well, I'll raise my hand. I've got a story to tell. So I tell my story. I stand up and I say, look, I've been working on myself for 10 years. And I've recently started feeling like I'm out of tools. I see my weaknesses, but I don't know how to fix them. I don't know how to address them. I feel like I'm running out of the things that I know to do, or the things that my capacity. I need help. And part of my story is that I was raised in a really religious environment. I was sexually abused as a kid. I've always felt like I'm not in control of my own decisions. I got into a marriage young that I should have never been in. It was chaotic and abusive. I got my ass kicked. And when she finally left me, I didn't even know who I was, what I was into, what I was about, what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't even know if I had a life. I self-destructed, and ultimately I didn't care if I lived or died. And then kind of had an awakening, and I slowly started putting one foot in front of the other, and then realizing that I need to make some changes. And then I started working really, really hard, really, really fucking hard on fixing me. And I'm still working hard on fixing me. I've lost friends. I've lost family members along the way. I've gained friends and family, It's been quite a road, but so I tell this story, and of course, I'm an emotional person, so I cried in some part of it, and they were like, "What do you think you want from this? Like, if we could help you get where you want to go, where is that?" I was like, "Well, I want self-confidence back. I want freedom from my past. I want to live free, to do the things that I want to do. But I also want to use my story. Like, I want to be able to tell this story to impact lives, because I want people to know that it doesn't end when you think it's over." And I have struggled to find my purpose. I've struggled to find value in what I've been through. I've had dark times where I felt like I had nothing to live for. But at the same time, I have worked hard to find purpose and value and all of these things, and so I want to be able to impact people with that. I want, and after I was done talking, and when they went to their next break, there was like 200 something people in the room. They took a break, and I had a line of people waiting to come talk to me. And it was humbling, because I didn't even expect to have any kind of impact on anybody. I just wanted to say, hey, I need help because I don't have the tools to get where I want to go, but this is where I want to go. And it was amazing, because there were guys that were coming up to me, and there were dudes that were like, "Hey, bro, I was like 7 when I got abused." And I just cried with these guys. I hugged them. I just cried with them. It was I've never experienced that before. I've had people tell me, "Hey, don't talk about this." I've had people say, "Hey, shut up." But I've never experienced it before where speaking of what happened to me when I was a kid empowered somebody else to come up to me and say, "Hey, that happened to me too." And it's really fucking hard for guys to talk about abuse, especially when it came at the hands of another man, because there's so much stigma about that. There's so much just to be said about that from culture and society, from other dudes who immediately the first thing you get accused of is being gay. "Oh, so you're gay?" And it's like, no, man. And so this other guys were telling me, like, "Hey, dude, I've always felt dirty. I felt dirty my whole life. I've always felt like there was something wrong with me. I've always felt like I didn't want people to get close to me because I would mess them up, or they would find out and they would think differently of me. I never wanted to say this because I didn't want people to ridicule it was so powerful to stand there in that room with these guys. And I was like, this is what I want to do, man. This is like just a taste of the ultimate dream for me, would be able to tell this story and leave a bunch of guys with the idea that they are allowed and welcome to share what happened to them when they were kids. You don't have to be tough. You can cry and you can talk about it. So it was extremely impactful. And it wasn't just that, man. There's more to this, because what happened next while I was standing there was there's a group of people came together, and one guy had come up, and he was a staff guy there or a volunteer, I guess, and he was like, "Hey, man, when can we get you signed up to go through this program?" And I was like, "Dude, I would love to, but I just don't have the money, man. It's an expensive program. It's intensive. I'm not afraid of the intensity. It's just the expense. Like, I can't do it, And while I was talking to him, a group of people came together and they said, "Hey, we were listening, we heard your story, and we came together and we talked, and we all want to pitch in to pay for your entrance into this program." And I was just crying more, man. I was like, "You guys don't know me. You don't owe me that. You don't have to do that for me. I could figure it out, I'll figure it out." And they were like, "No, we want you to do this. We want to be a part of this story." And it was amazing to me. It was like, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't even know how to respond other than to just hug these people and cry with them. And so I'm letting you guys in on this because I want this podcast to now become investable. Because you've been listening, and it's been, we've been about entertainment, and we will continue to be about entertainment. We will continue to be about trying to make you laugh. And for the rest of my life, I will try to be funny. That's one of the main things about my life is just me trying to be funny. And I'll always do that. But it's time for this thing to take to shift into another gear. And it's time for this podcast to become investable, where you will join me and partner with me as we go through, and I will continue to share what's happening, because this program is coming up next month. I start it in May, and it's gonna be intense for sure. It's gonna be very difficult for sure, but I truly believe that going through it will give me the strength and the courage to be able to wrap my story and make it a shareable thing, where I can then begin to share that story with the positive outcome. Because right now, if I told my story right now, I wouldn't know how to tie it to any kind of purpose. I'm still searching for it. I don't know how to say, not only don't give up, but here's why you don't give up. I have family that loves me. I have kids that love me. So I look to those reasons a lot. But if you don't have that, I mean, how do I tell you why to hang in there? You know? And so I'm learning. I'm learning that, and I think I can get there through this program. I can get there. So, you know, I believe we go through things, we live through things so that we can tell these stories and inspire and give hope to people that are still living in the trenches that we've come out of. So if that's the only reason you hang on, is so that somebody else who's barely holding on gets the strength to hang on just a little longer, then keep fucking hanging on, man. So I start the program in May. I'm going to talk about my lead-in to get there, and then I want you guys to be a part of what happens afterwards. It's time for me to let you in to the now of my life. One of the things that I'm really wanting to accomplish through this physically is to be able to get over the barrier that I have of weight loss and being healthy. A lot of it is like a self-sabotaging kind of thing. It's depression, it's emotional eating, it's that kind of stuff. I'm hoping, we're setting a goal that this program will help me get through that, kind of break through that. And then be, hopefully be as fit as I've ever been, my best shape by the time I'm 45. I don't know. We'll set a good goal, maybe 40, but that gives me a year and a couple of months. So I don't know that I can do that. It's possible, I guess. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. But anyway, I just wanted to share this part of the podcast, let you guys in on this, and let you guys know that there's a shift coming. I mean, you know, just in my personal life, there's a shift coming. So I want you to be aware of it and be a part of it. Okay. So speaking of all that, Monday, I have something coming up that I want you guys to be ready for, because I had a discussion with a buddy of mine a while back, and we recorded it. And the discussion was on masculinity, and the quest to be the best men that we can be, and what does it mean to be masculine, and how do we apply that in our lives. It's a really great conversation, really exciting. I'm glad we had it, and so I want you guys to be excited about it as well. It's coming up on Monday, okay? So I hope that you guys, I didn't lose you in this podcast. We shifted gears heavily right in the middle. Sorry if I gave you whiplash. But yeah, so have a great weekend, and yeah, so I've said it all. I've said plenty. So the moral of the story today is, if you believe some weird shit, don't be a dick about it. All right? Hey, we'll see you guys Monday. Peace out. The Tamale Mafia podcast is brought to you by me. The Tamale Mafia podcast is on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Podcast Addict, Overcast, a bunch of other places, and our host site, shows.pippa.io/Tamale Mafia. For more information about the Tamale Mafia podcast, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Tamale Mafia. Our intro music is brought to you by me. Our transition music is brought to you by bensound.com. For more royalty-free music, check out bensound.com. Our outro music is brought to you by Lim. For more mind-blowing intellectual electronic tracks, go to soundcloud.com/getlim. That's LIMN. And as always, thanks for listening.